We are ready to go ahead and start developing our application. So if you go into uh, the main class, you need to annotate it with Spring Boot application. Then in main method, you just need to bootstrap your application, Spring application dot run. Then you need to mention. So we'll rename this main class. So we'll rename it as customer application, and we need to rename a file as well. So we'll just refactor it and rename it to customer application. Yeah, so we have this customer application dot class comma arguments. So our main class is ready. Now we'll create uh, create different files uh, to generate a REST API for us. So first we'll create a customer controller. So this customer controller will be a REST controller. Then we will have SL4J annotation for logging purpose, and we'll do request mapping for this particular controller using API/v1 for version 1 and customer for identifying it as a customer API. Then in our customer controller, we'll have method for registering the customers. So we'll create public uh, for now we'll create a void method register. So we'll register a customer into our in 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 this customer controller. So this will be a kind of post mapping, and now as a body we'll receive a customer registration request. So we'll receive some request body, and in that we'll receive customer registration request, and we'll create a object of it. So customer registration request, this will be a Pojo class basically. So we'll be creating this customer registration request class. See the more extends and create this under in.myjavablog package. So we'll create this package, class, and inside it we'll create attributes of customer registration. So we'll create string first name, private string last name. We'll create private string email. So these three attributes we'll have, and we'll annotate it this Pojo class with some Lombok annotations, data for generating getters and setter, then builder annotation for building the object using a builder pattern. Then we'll have all our constructor. Then we'll have no or constructor. So our customer registration request class is ready, and we can use it in our customer controller. So our customer controller will take this uh, take this request object from the end user and pass it on to uh, a customer service. So basically customer service is a service class which will have a business logic to process this customer registration request and finally store it into a database. So we'll create one customer service and create the object of it. Just create it as a private class, and we'll use all our constructor here. As this customer service object is a service class, we'll annotate it with @service annotation. So when we create it, it will be annotated with @service annotation. So our Spring container will initiate this object, and as we have added all our constructor here, so this will be initialized during a constructor initialization for this particular class, controller class. So in our service we'll again have so if we go back, so here we'll use this customer service and pass this registration request object for registration, register customer, and this will take customer registration request. So this class we need to create it there. So create this method, inside it will be created. Now we have to create a customer uh, uh, so this customer request is passed on to this register customer method. Herein we need to create the customer entity. So this entity is basically a JP entity. So for creating a customer entity, we need to create one more class called customer, and this will be a entity class, and this will also have data annotation from Lombok. Then it will have a builder annotation, then again it will have all our constructor, and it will also have no constructor with it. Okay, so inside customer we'll again use these fields. So if you see inside customer, we'll again use these fields, and will additionally we need to define one ID field over here, so that as it's a database entity, it needs some uh, private key for the entity which is being created in the database. So this entity is nothing but table inside the database, so it should ideally have uh, primary key associated with it. So generated value, then strategy. We'll define auto strategy for now. So uh, so it will create generate this ID whenever any new record is inserted into this customer table entity. And we need to add ID annotation as well, as this error suggests we don't have any ID field assigned to this entity does not have a primary key, so we need to add this ID annotation. So now our entity is ready, and we'll again go back to customer controller and register controller. So here we'll create a customer object from the request object which we have received. So customer dot, we'll use a builder pattern, then we'll set the ID. So ID will be coming from our customer request dot sorry, we don't have id will be generated once we save this record, so we can directly store the first name here. So from customer registration request we'll get the first name, then we'll store the last name. We'll get it from customer registration request. Again we'll store the email, and we'll get it from customer registration request dot email. So now our customer object is ready to be stored into a database. But before storing it, we need a repository. So we'll create a repository, customer repository, to store this object into a database. So we'll just use customer repository, which is a JPA repository, and we don't need to annotate it. We'll use all our constructor to inject this customer repository using a constructor injection. So now we need to create it. So create it's a interface basically. So I'm just creating a customer repository interface, and it implements or extends JPA repository. It will have a customer as object to be stored in this repository, and will id is a long value, so we'll just say it as a long, and we need to annotate it with repository annotation just to mark this class as a repository class, and it will be auto injected by Spring during uh, Spring Boot. I mean, whenever Spring Boot calls it from any of other class. So now we have customer object created for us. Now we want to store that object using our a repository. So using this customer repository dot save method, we'll just save this object into a database. So we'll pass this object, and this will be saved to the database in a customer table basically. So for now we'll just return this object, but we are returning void, so make this return customer. So this will return a saved object into a database, and again on a controller layer as well, we'll just return this saved object into a database. So here also we need to return as customer object. So this coding part is done, but we need to create a properties file to connect to our database and mention some additional properties of this application. So we'll create application.yaml file, and this YAML file will just mention the port for this application, and it will be 8081. We'll just mention the application name as a customer, and we will define customer database properties to connect to data source. So we'll just mention this. So we'll be connecting to customer database. So in previous lecture we have created a database. In that database we need to create this customer schema under my Java blog user. So we'll do it right away. So as you can see, we have this pj admin. So I have just given name to this database as a customer, but by mistake I have given this name, but I can just rename it to my Java blog. So this is our database name, and inside the databases we have currently have my Java blog and Postgres, which is a default database given by Postgres. So as we are using customer schema defined in our properties file, we need to create a database inside our my Java blog user. So we'll be creating a customer database for customer microservice, and we'll just save it. Owner of this database is my Java blog, you can see. So once it is created, we'll just start the application. So I'm just starting it. We are connecting to this customer schema from the application. So now we can see our application has been started, and we are successfully able to connect to our database, and it has created this customer table as well as you can see it from the logs, and this application has been started on port number 8081. So now we are ready to hit our API. So we have this endpoint API slash v1 slash customer, and we have this post mapping in which we will be sending this customer registration request, which has this details: first name, last name, and email. So this is the request from localhost 8081 API v1 customer, and we are sending body as a JSON format, and we are sending first name, last name, and email. So when I hit a send, it's just creating a customer for us. So you can see status is 200, okay, and we are getting the output as uh, ID and all other detail. So if we hit it again, it will just create a new ID. So it's auto incremented, it's just incremented. So if you see it on the database side, you will see customer table created inside our customer database. So if you see the schemas, and inside schemas you will have tables, and inside tables you can see this customer table is created with these 4 columns. So if I want to check the records uh, inserted in this table, so you can see 2 records are inserted by our REST APIs. That's it for this lecture. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.